And we're back at it again with some bitter beers and some new mock drafts.
Leave a comment below. Let us know who won this mock draft.
It's clearly me.
Well, he likes to think that a lot.
Yeah.
Let us jump into it. And welcome back to a Standard Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jono.
And I'm your host, Chris. And we are back at it again with another standard mock draft. Not PPR, not half-point PPR, standard.
It's going to be a 12-team mock draft here. Single quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, single flex. The rest is bench. We're going to go 13 rounds as we have been here. We're not going to do any kickers or defenses. We have a beer from Great Notion out from Portland, Oregon.
Prost.
Cheers to Great Notion.
Cheers.
There's also an upgrade here in the studio. I'll give everybody a second to think and notice what it may be.
Just listen. No, don't think about it. Listen to it.
Well, if that didn't give the hint, we got new microphones here. No
Hey.
more echoing, no more breaking the sound barriers. We can yell, we can talk. Thanks to Audio Technica here. These are
When Jono
fantastic
pisses me
microphones.
off and tells me ridiculous things, then I can get upset and not worry about deafening any of you.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to my cousin Nick, who
Hey.
did recommend these microphones here for our podcast studio. So thanks again for your help.
Thank you.
But let's get ready. Let's jump into this mock draft. I'm going to be drafting out of the 6th spot, and we're going to go back-to-back in the sort of no man's land dead area of the drafts, where Chris will be going from the 7th spot. So we'll be battling each other the entire draft.
Yeah.
So it's
like a 80s movie action poster. We're going back to back.
We're going
all right?
back-to-back. So let's start it up here. Christian McCaffrey goes 1, Tyreek 2, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Breece Hall. And I'm sitting here with a choice between Amon-Ra and Jamar Chase. That's really where I'm going. I don't think I'm willing to draft Bijan as high as 6, or definitely not Gibbs or anything here. It is standard, but that being said, touchdowns are king regardless of running back or tight end or wide receiver. I have Jamar Chase slightly above Amon-Ra St. Brown here. I don't have a specific reason why, more than I just love that offense, and I think a healthy Joe Burrow with a healthy Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase is just a better receiver than Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And no Joe Mixon.
Yeah, no Joe Mixon. And just think about touchdown opportunity and capital. I think it's there for him, too.
Yeah, if Jamar stays healthy, I mean, he is a beast year in and year out. Well, I mean, I'm going to take the other guy in there. So if you were going to go Chase, I'm going to go Brown. If you went Brown, I would go on Chase.
Yeah.
I think those are the clear options over at those 2 picks. The guy here who I was hoping would have came down to me was Justin Jefferson, but he's flying up the draft boards, which I'm not happy about. But I have no problem taking Amon-Ra St. Brown here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, be honest with you, Justin Jefferson there at the 6th spot and Chase, if you swap those 2, team 3 with me, I still would have taken Jefferson. So one thing, let's chat real quick before you make this pick. How do you prepare yourself for the middle of the draft?
For the middle?
The middle of the draft. What's the way you go into being in like the 6, 7, 8
You don't.
range? I mean, I know there's really don't prepare, but like what's your strategy during the draft, and how do you get crafty enough to put together a good enough squad?
I mean, it's really about just seeing the value that's on the board, seeing runs. You're really, because you're kind of in the middle on both ends, you'll be kind of either a trend setter or a trend breaker, and you can. If you're seeing a run on quarterbacks, you want one of those top guys, you might have to jump into it. If you see a run on tight ends, you might have to jump into it.
Well, what he means, too, by trendsetter, trend breaker is right here, for example, Josh Allen's on the board. He could be the trendsetter by drafting Allen here and starting the run on quarterbacks. He could be the trend breaker, too, as well. Say, for example, if there was a heavy run on running backs at the beginning of the 2nd round, he could go right into the wide receiver. Or, tight end here, whatever may be with a trendsetter. That's what he means by that.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping some other guys would have fallen down to me, but I'm happy taking ETN because I'm not going to have an opportunity at the 3rd round. So I'm happy taking ETN. I don't want Drake London. I don't want Chris Olave. Ayuk, I would love to have, but I think having top-notch running back that's going to get a bulk of the carries, I think that's who I want to get. So I'm going to get ETN.
So I'm going to be more of a trendsetter here, I think. I'm deciding here between Josh Allen, or going with the first tight end off the board. I think I'm going to end up going Josh Allen here. I'm not a fan of taking Devon Achane this early in the second round. I just don't see the volume being there. The output that he had last year was so difficult to replicate, and now teams know what to scheme for against that offense. I still think the biggest playmakers on the team are going to be your two receivers. I would say Waddle would be here for me. I'd be jumping up on him. That's the other thing at the 6-7 range. You're going to be jumping down or jumping up for people that you like, because where value may not always fall to you, and ADP may not be what you like here. So I'm going to go with Josh Allen. I'm going to lock in the first quarterback off the board. I'm going to be the trendsetter here.
Cool.
London, Achane, Henry Go, Olave, Laporta, Jacobs, Debo, Travis Kelce, Ayuk, Collins, and back to me. Now I'm in a position that I actually like, because Derrick Henry is somebody I could have went right there, but I get a running back that I think could end up finishing very similar in touches and probably touchdown potential, and that's Isaiah Pacheco. And I'm going to get my running back right here and go with Pacheco as my RB1.
Love it. Because the guy that's highest on the ADP board is Mike Evans, and I'm going to go and smash the like button on him.
Solid choice as your wide receiver 2. Waddle goes afterwards. Hurts, Lamar Jackson. Here go the quarterbacks. Mahomes, Diggs, Neighbors, Moore, Pittman, Metcalf. See, Andrews. So it's been a run on wide receivers here.
Yeah.
Big run.
Yeah. And I think that there is opportunity to keep smashing that. So I'm going to go ahead and go Cooper Kupp here. Actually, you know what? I was going to go Cooper Kupp. Devonta Smith is sitting there too. And since he's come into the league, he's kind of been my guy. And I really like what he does in that offense. That offense is predicated around big plays. And I know everyone loves A.J. Brown. You see the value of A.J. Brown being in the first round. But Devonta Smith has been equally as good. I think he's the best 1B in the league.
Yeah, I mean, a healthy Waddle is hard to beat too. I mean, the two of those guys are right there.
But he's not healthy, and he hasn't been healthy.
Well, last year was tough. I mean, it's not been like T. Higgins, who every year hasn't been healthy.
Yeah, but
last year he was healthier. Last year he played through injuries, but yes,
Smith was better than Waddle last year. Smith was better than Waddle 2 years ago. Smith was better than Waddle 3 years ago, or not 3 years ago, but
yeah, their rookie campaign.
He was the 1A on that team 3 years ago.
That's true. And he set the rookie record for receptions. I agree. So go ahead, Devonta Smith. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
So now I'm sitting here. I'm going to stick to my guns and my rule here. If I draft a quarterback within the first 3 picks, I am not drafting a tight end until at least the 5th round.
But you want McBride.
I do want McBride, but I don't want to sacrifice because I'm in the 6th spot. If I was here at the 2 spot and I'm sitting here and it's McBride, or I could sacrifice 3 players and get somebody I still like. But there's a lot of play after this pick. So I'm deciding here whether I want to go with my RB2 or my wide receiver 1. This is a situation where you probably could go hero running back. There's plenty of people out there, Aaron Jones, James Conner. There's not many people like Cooper Kupp. And if you look the drop off afterwards here, you've got Cooper Kupp ADP. You've got Flowers, Tank Dell, T. Higgins, Pickens, Cooper. I'd say Amari Cooper's kind of on that same playing field as Kupp. But, again, if they don't make it to me, then I'm settling with some of these other guys here that aren't going to give me the output that I want. And I think Cooper Kupp is going to give that to me. So I've got 2 solid wide receivers here.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I was going to do that. Yeah. Pick before.
Rachaad White, McBride, Stroud, Cook, Mixon, Flowers, Kamara, Walker, Tank Dell, Kincaid. I was hoping Walker would drop to me here for my RB2.
Yeah.
He did not. In terms of RB2 opportunities here, you could see Aaron Jones, James Conner, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, and Ramondre Stevenson are the top 5 that are left in terms of what their ADPs are. It's not much of a reach for James Conner or Montgomery here, or even DeAndre Swift, because of how many people have to go after me picks-wise. I think Aaron Jones is going to have a great opportunity in Minnesota. I think you have either a rookie quarterback or you have a backup perennial veteran coming in that they're going to have to lean on the run in order to get what they want to get out of these quarterbacks and Justin Jefferson. I love James Conner too. I mean, he's got a chokehold on that backfield, but I'm going to go with Aaron Jones because he really doesn't have anybody behind him, even though Conner really doesn't either besides a rookie.
Sure.
So Aaron Jones, RB2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a position here where I don't really want to do this. I don't really want Anthony Richardson yet. But I know I'm not going to like. There's two teams that are drafting after me that don't have quarterbacks, so I'm risking for four picks total. Since I pick again after him, and I just don't see Richardson falling, so I'm going to go Richardson here.
I mean, the one thing it is computers, but you look, 3 of the 5 teams already have quarterbacks, so there is a chance that nobody would draft quarterback here. And man, Kittle did not fall to us this round. That was the one kind of big hope here. I mean, here's the thing: you want Richardson over top of Burrow.
Yes, I want Richardson over Burrow.
So that's why you would go for him here, because Burrow, right, I had a gut feeling would fall, and he did
right.
To you here. But
yeah, I just didn't want him. And here now I can continue to smash on other positions. I'm not super vested right now into drafting like a tight end or having to reach on a guy. There's tons of value over a wide receiver and running back right now. Wide receiver, I think that there's one guy here that hasn't been touched yet that I think that there's a drop off between him and the next 6 or 7 players on his board, and that's Christian Kirk.
Well, I'm going to take his teammate Evan Ingram because
I had a feeling you're going to do that.
He's the last of my tiers and the top guys. That he's on an offense here that he has been for the past 2 seasons a coveted big time target role, and I know he was hyper targeted last game. We were trying to have him break the record or get his money. I can't remember what it was, but either way, he was the most targeted tight end last year, where they did have a solid wide receiver 1. They removed that wide receiver 1. They bring it back to being Kirk as a technically wide receiver 1 here, where Evan Ingram was, again, a top 7 tight end, I think it was, the year before that, and had more touchdown potential. So I'm leaning towards he's going to go back to the Evan Ingram 2 years ago, where he had a little bit more touchdown potential, a lot more yak opportunities because you weren't throwing the ball as downfield as you used to. So, and I also think that Trevor Lawrence is going to find a way to right the ship a little bit better in Jacksonville. So give me a little bit Evan Ingram here. Lock in my tight end. And we're getting a lot of rain.
We're getting a lot of rain.
We are getting poured on. All right, so Burrow goes afterwards. Worthy, McLaurin, DeAndre, Ramondre, Jaden.
DeAndre.
Yeah. Hollywood, Najee. I really wanted Najee to fall down here because Najee was going to be my pick there as my RB3. I think the volume is going to be unbelievable there for him. To me, I'm sitting here looking Zamir White as an RB3. I don't really love him as my flex. Rashee Rice, too much of a question mark. I am going to have to go here on a 7th round. I'm jumping on him a little bit because his ADP is very high, but I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey as my flex here.
There you go. Oh, I am going to go get my RB2, and I'm going to get the guy who finished as the RB2 last year, which is Raheem Mostert.
It's unbelievable how far he is fallen down there. But we don't know what it's going to be there. We just don't know.
We don't.
So we had 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, and then Hopkins and Ridley back-to-back. As we talked about, they've been back-to-back in ADP. We've kind of differed on who we like in either way. I like Ridley. Chris likes Hopkins. I don't think you could go wrong with either one, to be honest.
Right. And so I know you were looking for Najee to fall. There's his teammate here in Jaylen Warren that's still available. But there is a wide receiver there that I think, no. I'm gonna go Jaylen Warren. That's who I want to do.
All right.
Because I was gonna go another wide receiver, but I already have 4 wide receivers. I need to kind of lock up some other positions here before I go and just start snagging. And I think I might have an opportunity at this wide receiver in the next round.
So if this was PPR, I'd be taking Deontay Johnson right here.
Right, but it's not.
But it's not. Deontay Johnson's a great PPR. Even half-point PPR, I think he's going to get enough volume for that opportunity.
For sure.
I just don't think the touchdown capital is going to be there. There's a wide receiver that I think is going to have touchdown capital because who else do they have out around him besides Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel, who
Yep.
they already said they want to play him at running back and receiver. So you know how that's going to be for Samuel. It's going to be a mixed bag of snap count.
It's going to be a Debo role.
So it is, but it's going to be Debo light, literally light.
Yeah.
So I trust the big hand, big body, athletic freak Keon Coleman. I'm going to go back-to-back rookie receivers here, which I do in our league because it's a keeper. And like we said before, we'll go into detail on what our keeper rules are there, because I think it's a fun one if you want to incorporate a new keeper system to your leagues. But even if it's not a keeper, I like the value in Keon Coleman being the X receiver that they drafted first pick in the second round of this NFL draft. Rashi goes, Caleb Williams, Deontay goes, Eckler, Purdy, Javonte, Brian Thomas, Trey Benson, and 2 tight ends, which I love if 2 people are trying to get their tight ends before me here, because then it means value has fallen. I want to try and get another running back here, and I think I want to go with a volume pick. And my choices between volume pick are going to be Brian Robinson or Devin Singletary. Unfortunately, Brian Robinson has Eckler with him, and we know Eckler is going to be probably in the passing role, but he's been very good at the goal line along with Brian Robinson. So don't know what the snap share is going to be like that yet, and I don't want to have my RB3 in question. There really isn't much question on who's going to be the lead guy in New York, and that's Devin Singletary.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did that, because I was really hoping Brian Robinson would fall back down to me here. So I'm going to go 3 running backs in a row. I'm going to go Brian Robinson.
In fact, Brian Robinson, in my opinion, between Warren and Mostert, Brian Robinson is probably the more solidified volume guy out of those 3.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, again.
And he got him 3rd.
Yeah.
So Watson, Edwards.
Love value.
Edwards is another one that I really do like because we think is going to be the lead role there. JSN, Hawkinson, Goddard, Jameson Williams, Tajay, Goff, Daniels, and Chase Brown, one of my favorites in this year's draft, a little Chase Brown.
Yeah, and I don't really. I mean, I think at this point I've kind of faded tight end, and I want to. There's still value on the board at other positions, and I'm gonna go. Give me a second.
Well, you got a minute 16.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk out loud about your thoughts here? It's not like I can snipe someone from you.
No, it's not. But, I mean, there's still Cortland Sutton and A.D. Mitchell that are still on the board that I like. Khalil Shakir is a guy I'd probably reach for a little bit. I mean, tight ends available right now are just Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth, Luke Musgrave. And, yeah, I like those guys, but I think I'm going to have an opportunity with everyone drafting tight ends already. I'm going to have an opportunity at one of them. Running back, there's rookies. Blake Corum is available. Ezekiel Elliott, Jerome Ford, Zach Charbonnet, Chuba Hubbard. Going 3 running backs in a row, I'm not going to hit running back again. And at quarterback, I'm solidified with Anthony Richardson. And that's something I could absolutely do right here is go get Tua, go get Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, go get one of those guys to get my backup just because of the injury risk for Anthony Richardson. But I think Cortland Sutton is the best value that's on the board right now, and I have no problem taking him right here.
All right. So Cortland Sutton's off the board. I currently have 4 running backs, 4 wide receivers. I've got my quarterback and tight end. I really don't feel like in standard scoring where you have one starting tight end to really have to go for 2 tight ends. So I'm completely punting that position for the rest of the time, unless somebody completely fell to me that was worth it, or I had injury risk with Evan Ingram, which I don't think so. Josh Allen, that guy is tougher than nails, so I don't really feel like injury risk here to take a quarterback in the 10th. I may think about that later down the road, depending upon if somebody falls. So that being said, I'm going to take best on the board value-wise. I've already taken 2 rookie wide receivers. So A.D. Mitchell is there for me, but I don't want to go for A.D. Mitchell because I don't want to have my bench be nothing but rookie wide receivers. Romeo Doubs has been on my team in the past. He is a red zone, end zone machine, but that team, any given Sunday, somebody else could pop off. We've seen it with Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks. We've seen
Great for best ball, tough for regular standard.
Tough for regular standard. So I'm going to stick away from that there too. Curtis Samuel, I don't want to double up on those wide receivers there. So I'm just going to keep going down because I really want a wide receiver. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is going with probably Josh Downs, one of your receivers for your quarterback, because I think he's still going to have a role on this team, and he's going to be a deep threat.
Sure.
Blake Corum was who I really wanted to swing down to me as a Rams running back, because I think he's going to have an opportunity here if anything happens to Kyron. But we all know how McVay is. There's not a lot invested in Kyron as well. There's similar, if not a little bit more invested in Corum. And they shed running backs like snakes shed skin. It's a new year, new me, and that's how they do running. I mean, we've seen it with Gurley, we've seen it with other guys.
Yeah, I just think at those points, like they didn't have Stafford. So Stafford and Puka
but look
and
how
Kupp.
quick Akers was thrown to the side after having a phenomenal finish to the season prior to, and then
He had a phenomenal and this the problem is, even making an argument against the quarterback I drafted as Anthony Richardson, he had a phenomenal 3 games. It's easy to have good stretches in the NFL.
it is.
It's hard to have good seasons in the NFL.
It is. I agree with you.
So, yeah, Cam Akers did it for the final 3 games of the season, but then he came in week 1 and had, 20 carries for 20 yards?
Yeah, he did. He did.
They gave him volume. They gave him opportunity.
I'm not I'm not saying it's his fault, but that's how quickly I think McVay is willing to. Corum comes out and has a good second half of the first week. You don't think he's going to get touches with McVay?
He'll get touches, but if Kyron's still producing, it's a production league.
So I'm sitting here too. I do want to get a running back here, and there's Chuba Hubbard has been sitting here. I've been taking a lot of him, so I want to fade that. Charbonnet, I still think I don't think is going to be a opportunity there, but Kendre Miller is somebody that I'm very interested in this draft. You've got an aging Alvin Kamara who has yet to sign as of when we're doing this draft here, or yet to show up with the contract negotiations. On top of that, we saw Week 18 when he came back off injury last year, and we saw what we saw at TCU. We saw a guy who had over 5 yards a carry. He ran hard. He hit the hole hard, and it's what you want. It's something that Kamara is not going to be able to give you on certain downs. He can't do what Kamara does. We know that. So, but I think there's an opportunity with Kendre Miller. If Kamara gets hurt at all, this guy can go all 3 downs.
Yeah.
But, you still do have the X factor.
With Taysom Hill.
But I want to take a chance on Kendre Miller. I don't want to be missing out on him.
So we're in the 11th round now. I think this...
look what you got here. It starts to get a little sloppy.
I know. Shakir's really the only one that I really want to hammer out here. I think I might do it. I think I'm going to take Shakir. Just really load up.
All right, so Mike Williams goes, Cole Kmet, Lockett, Shaheed, Charbonnet, Ty Chandler, Musgrave. I know he was the last on your list from that punting.
Both those guys went back to back right in front of me.
Freiermuth and Musgrave.
I'm like, you know what? I'll go Shakir here, and then I'll get Freiermuth or Musgrave in the next round, and both of those guys go right in front of me.
So you truly did punt the position.
I really did. So, I guess I don't really have an option. I'm going to go Ben Sinnott.
You don't want to go Taysom Hill?
No.
Now, if you go Ben Sinnott, are you going to try and go another tight end here?
Yeah.
I'm not going to try and snipe one for you. Don't worry, I won't. But I'm just saying, if I'm in your position, I'm going double tight end here to finish out
I already have 4 running backs. I have six wide receivers. I have my quarterback. It kind of threw me off because of Freiermuth or Sinnott. My plan was to have one tight end of those 2 guys and then go and get a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to have to just rely on Anthony Richardson. And honestly, I'm fine with that because I can go pick up a waiver wire quarterback.
Yeah. Well, being that I've got kind of even on wide receiver and I'm even on running back, I debated on quarterback here, going with Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, locking up something because of just the injury risk of the mobile quarterback. I'm not going to do that, again, because I think Josh Allen is tough as nails. Unless it's a season-ending injury, he's tough as nails. So I'm going to end up going with probably wide receiver here. And I love Troy Franklin. I want him on my team this late. I know he's a rookie, and I got a couple rookies as well. But what he could bring to Denver could change the game for them. And I'm hoping that this other guy comes down to me because I'm really going to take a big shot on somebody.
Big time.
Big time. All right. So he fell to me, which I'm happy about.
Are you taking Quentin Johnson or Ricky Pearsall?
No. I'm looking at Jahan Dotson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I like Jahan Dotson.
Love me some Jahan Dotson.
I think Jahan Dotson is extremely undervalued in
for sure.
in
You're
ADP.
getting him in the 13th round right now.
Now, don't get me wrong. Quentin Johnston is on my radar.
Why?
Because he's going to have every single well, it's
No,
it's
he's
my
not.
it's my 13th pick. He's going to have every single
No,
opportunity.
he's not.
You don't think he will?
Josh Palmer, DJ Chark, Lad McConkey in a 3 wide receiver set.
No, I think he's going to have a short leash. I think he's going to be up there.
He's not going to
ahead.
have the opportunity, the initial opportunity.
Yeah,
he's
I
going to have
think
to
he will.
work for it.
I think he will.
Reports are already out.
I'm just saying, I think he will. But I'm not taking him here anyway. I'm going Jahan Dotson because when I look at the running back position, Marshawn Lloyd.
Guys, do yourselves a favor. Don't draft Brick Hands Johnson.
Okay. I do like Marshawn Lloyd. I think he's going to have his, especially second half of the season. I think there's going to be opportunity for him.
Sure.
Especially if there's any sort of slowing up like we saw in Las Vegas last year.
Sure.
From Jacobs. Antonio Gibson, receiving role. We're not in a PPR. I'd be more likely to take him in a PPR. Algier is a great standard league handcuff. I'd like to take him too. And I think Jaleel McLaughlin in a great offense there as a receiver.
He's in a great situation.
So I'm going to go Jahan Dotson because I just pick 149. I think that's just really good value for a solid, I wouldn't call him veteran yet, but I mean, he's a well-seasoned wide receiver in Washington.
And what I'm going to do is go get the tried and true top 10 tight end every year. Let me go pull up some stats from him.
You're talking about Taysom Hill?
No.
Or Kate Otten?
No.
You're talking Hunter Henry. I know you are. Because he's on your team every year.
I love him.
What do you mean tried and true? You just mean like the guy I take every year. Just say that.
It's the guy I take every year. I mean, last year, in a bad year on a bad team, he still has 6 touchdowns. When he's on good teams, he's getting 6+ touchdowns. And 2 years ago, he had only 2 touchdowns, but he was hampered by injuries later in the season. He still was averaging 12.4 yards per catch that year. His yards per catch have been phenomenal every year of his career, over 10 his entire career. It's a guy I like, especially with rookie quarterbacks or with Jacoby Brissett. Both he knows those guys, and I just think from a week in, week out perspective, having a guy like Hunter Henry on your team, if you're going to fade or if you're looking for a solid backup, if you're going risky at tight end, he is a phenomenal guy to draft.
Yeah. Well, that rounds out. As you can see, the kickers are starting to be here. I did not do a good job of setting up as a 13 round. But let's take a look at our teams here. From the 6th spot, I went Jamar Chase, first round. I took the first quarterback off the board. It was Josh Allen over going with a receiver or running back. Came around, took Pacheco as my first running back. And then Cooper Kupp as my second wide receiver here. Aaron Jones, my RB2. Evan Ingram as my tight end. So I roll out my entire starting positions there, minus my flex spot, which was filled with Lad McConkey, but is a mix of McConkey, Keon Coleman, Devin Singletary, Josh Downs. I took Kendry Miller on the upside for the Saints of getting some more opportunities here in sophomore year. And then I went on 2 tight ends there, Troy Franklin as the upside and Jahan Dotson as the more stable floor in Washington.
Sure. What's a guy that you? What's a pick you wish you had back?
I think it was tough because the biggest one for me was I went ahead and took Evan Ingram in the 6th spot. I stuck to my guns about the don't take him in the top 5 if you took a quarterback in the top 5. But I really wanted either Stevenson or DeAndre Swift. And had I gotten one of them, I still could have went with Brock Bowers, Goddard, Ferguson, and Njoku afterwards and missed on McConkey. But that being said, I love McConkey. I love the opportunity there. So I'm happy with Ingram. I'm happy with McConkey and Coleman. But that would have been my biggest one was, man, I really could have went with faded that Evan Ingram pick. He probably would have gone there, but would have went with a more solid RB3 because Singletary's my RB3 at this point. And I like the volume, but is it a touchdown's going to be there for the New York Giants? Probably not.
Yeah. Okay. So, drafted 7 right after Jono. I started off the draft going Amon-Ra St. Brown, Travis Etienne, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith, Anthony Richardson, Christian Kirk, Raheem Mostert, Jalen Warren, Brian Robinson Jr., Cortland Sutton, Khalil Shakir, Ben Sinnott, and then Hunter Henry. So completely faded the tight end position, doubled up on them at the end of the draft. One with this, just solid floor guy, and then one with a rookie that's going to get a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
Looking back at it, I probably would, if I knew I was going to get Brian Robinson,
you would have went Jalen Warren.
I wouldn't have went Jalen Warren. And I think that I could have went Ferguson or Njoku, which were guys I was targeting, and guys I was hoping that were going to fall where I got Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
So I could have went one of those two tight ends, reached a little bit, because you went Keon Coleman right after that. I wouldn't have been upset losing out on Keon Coleman. Like, I like him I like him in that offense. I like him, but obviously I went Shakir later in the draft. I wasn't targeting Rashee Rice. Didn't want either one of the quarterbacks. From a running back perspective, the only other guy that went that I really would have liked is Brian Thomas, but it wasn't something I needed. At that point already had 4 wide receivers. I needed to get some depth at running back. I like my team, but I wish I wouldn't have went Jalen Warren. I wish I would have probably went Njoku right there, and would have been able to save me for getting a backup quarterback as my last pick in the draft. I still like Ben Sinnott and Hunter Henry.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
I wish I would have, I wish Musgrave or Freiermuth would have fell there, but that wasn't I guess that wasn't my fault, but I can't dictate. You had 3 tight ends go in, 8 picks in between that? But that's what happens.
Yeah,
That's what happens. And this is a great example of hey, this could happen if you go in completely faded position where you can't really dictate what's going to happen in the draft. People are going to get taken out of ADP. And so if you don't really put yourself in a position where you're going to completely fade a position and not get guys that you're going to be comfortable with. Like, I had an opportunity, instead of Shakir, I could have went any one of those guys. Instead of Cortland Sutton, I could have went any one of those guys.
Well, just think about it. If you went with any of those tight ends there, Cole Kmet, Freiermuth, Musgrave, anybody, and faded Shakir, you still would have had a chance at Franklin, Josh Palmer. You still had Gabe Davis. There were still receivers of Shakir's quality that were there.
Yeah. I wanted him to kind of be in that big play position, and that I liked him in that. It wasn't a need that I needed. So I think Shakir, Warren, that's where I kind of my draft might have derailed a little bit to end up with Ben Sinnott and Hunter Henry. I'm not upset at it. I think it's a really good team. I think I have a lot of explosive players, especially up top of the wide receiver position. And that's really where I didn't really need another wide receiver, but in case there's an injury, I still have a lot of explosive playmakers down there that have touchdown capital and touchdown opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean, Cortland Sutton's getting drafted in the 10th round there?
Yeah, and he's still the wide receiver 1 there.
He had 10 touchdowns last year.
Well, I'm saying he's the wide receiver 1 until somebody else takes it from him.
He's the wide receiver 1. So there's not going to be someone to take it.
Well, I already said that.
I know what you said.
Troy Franklin is going to beat him in yardage.
I don't think
and
so.
Receptions. I don't think he's going to lose. I think
this isn't a Jamar Chase.
Higgins.
No, this isn't Jamar Chase going to Joe Burrow.
No, it's not. No,
this is Troy Franklin and Bo Nix we're talking about here.
Yeah, look at what they did. I mean, they still put up significant numbers.
I know, but it was at Oregon against the last year in the Pac. Although the Pac-12 was pretty good last year.
It was decent enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, to have that rapport, I think I say that my bold take that you heard in our previous videos. If you didn't see it, go look at it. But Troy Franklin, if Bo Nix gets in there early enough, is going to have every opportunity to be a favorite target for the obvious reasons. Now, that being said, Cortland Sutton, I think, is a fantastic wide receiver.
Yeah. And he's not going to be Sutton. Like I think he is going to win out the number 2 role there because there's no one after Sutton.
Yeah,
There's no one substantial after Sutton.
I'm just saying Sutton is not a yardage guy. Sutton is a touchdown guy. We saw it last year. I think he's going to still have that role this year, but I think the yardage is going to straight up come
Sutton's
from
a big
Franklin.
body possession guy.
Correct.
For quarterbacks to struggle with accuracy,
But a separation guy, which there was no accuracy issues with Troy Franklin last year.
they're playing against college kids.
Listen, they're also playing against the Chargers and the Raiders twice. I mean, the Raiders have been a decent enough defense.
And
But
a new Chargers team that's
guess
going to
what?
get vamped up.
Troy Franklin's the wide receiver
Who
too.
has
It's not top
superstars
coverage.
at every level.
Not top coverage. That benefits too as well.
Sure.
Anyway, going into it, I like my team a lot too. But the thing that scares me a little bit is the investment in 3 rookie wide receivers. But I did that because I want to hinge my bets because if one hits, I'm golden.
Yeah.
But one's got to hit.
Yeah.
If Coleman's not the big man on campus in Buffalo, doesn't hit. If McConkey's not that Keenan Allen role, doesn't hit. And if Franklin's not what I hope he's going to be, I'm really going to be relying on Singletary, Josh Downs, Jahan Dotson as my flex role. And that's a little scary. But I have confidence that one of those guys is going to hit
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. And don't forget to tune in. We are going to continue.
It's usually right here.
Yeah,
The
it's
button's
usually
right here.
right below
It'll pop up.
over there. It's right below the glove, right below the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah. It's right here.
But don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. Tune in because we are going to be jumping into the NFC West and the AFC West upcoming here. I think we'll start with the AFC and break down the Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, and Broncos, and we'll head over to the other division afterwards.
Can't wait.
Thanks for showing up and tune in next time.